Hi, my name is Ishmael Naylor, and today we're going to be talking about rogue landlords. Now, rogue landlords are landlords that generally don't look after their property. Now, it's more common in HMOs than in single let because students, they don't look after the property in general, and then the landlord doesn't want to get things fixed. They go, oh well, they're just students, they can live with it, it doesn't really matter. So they generally don't look after properties as well. And the other thing with students is because they're new to renting, they don't really understand their rights, they don't understand the laws and their rights to their tenancy, which says that the property has to be kept at a certain standard. So with this in mind, generally students are not going to be reporting issues in the property. So they're not going to be reporting things like if you have a small leak, like when the radiators are a bit iffy or the boiler's playing up. If it works, they're not going to report it. If their cupboard doors are a bit iffy, the hinges aren't working properly, they're not going to report it. But things like that can cause the hinges to fall off because they don't report it while the screw gets loose, and then it ends up that they use the door and it breaks. And so just getting a good relationship with tenants will stop this. But a lot of these rogue landlords are not necessarily rogue landlords, but they're because they don't have a good relationship with their tenants. So it's not only with HMOs and student lets, but it's also with single lets. I mean, a lot of people, surprisingly, almost 30% of renters don't feel comfortable talking to their landlord about issues. I had it with one of my tenants. She was living in the property and she didn't report small things. Now, it wasn't anything major. It was just the fact that the door hinges had come a little bit loose and the handle wasn't working properly. And so it didn't cause any long-term issues, but it's just things like this which could have eventually caused the door to get damaged, and they might have damaged the particular door because it was a glass door, and because the hinge had come loose it wasn't shutting and opening properly, so they could have potentially smashed the glass and caused a very high expense. So just small things like that can end up costing you a lot if the tenant doesn't feel comfortable reporting to you. Now, that was my very first ever tenant, and since then I've learned that regularly I try to, every 6 months, contact the tenant and say, look, is there anything that needs fixing, anything at all, any issues? And since I've done that, my tenants are quite happy to report small things. I mean, one of my tenants reported, for example, the fact that the sealant around the kitchen sink was no longer there, and so she said, well, I think it's going to start getting watering and damaging your worktop. So that's really good that my tenants feel so comfortable that they can report something small like that. Now, I know it might sound silly, but it can be the difference between your worktop needing changing after a year because it's swollen with water ingress, and your worktop lasting tens of years because it's got no water in it, it's sealed, and it's no reason for it to wear. It can make a massive difference with how long your kitchen lasts, and this can save you a hell of a lot of money. So I would highly recommend building good rapport with your tenants and making sure that every 6 months, whether you got a management company or not, every 6 months you send out a report, or you get your management company to send out a report to your tenants and say, are there any issues with the property, anything at all, small, big, it doesn't matter. I want them reported so that I can fix them and keep the property up to a high standard. It will also make them want to look after the property more. And you'll have better, long-lasting tenants who are happy with their tenancy and look after your property for the long term. So if you like the tips in this video, please subscribe to my channel, whack that bell notification icon, and stay notified of each and every video coming out on Tuesdays. I may be starting to upload videos more regularly, so keep an eye out and keep subscribed.